Well, hi everybody. The wait's over. We're back racing at Addington today for the two horse racing codes. It's been over 2 months here in New Zealand. 12 o'clock today, we kick off back at Addington, and the big fish is back. Craig the Whale Thompson, what was it like having a racing-less lockdown for you?
Horrible, Michael, to be honest. Welcome back. Great to be racing tomorrow. 2 months, felt like 2 years, mate. I think when you're studying horses over a long period of time, you get a break for a holiday, like through your August period where it slows down, and you may get a week off, but 2 months, never experienced this, mate. And I'm really chomping at the bit to get back tomorrow.
Let's talk about Thursday's race meeting at Addington. It's one of 4 harness racing meetings coming up. Different type of thing. Usually in racing, we go week to week. We know the form. We have a lot of trials to go through. A lot of these horses, coming off zero base. How have you approached tomorrow's meeting or today's meeting, depending on where you're watching this, at Thursday, the first of the meetings? How have you approached going about the form? Are trials important? Are they the most important thing? Or for you, has there been a case that the form of the past is just as important?
Well, I think the past form is irrelevant going forward, Michael. It's 2.5 months these horses haven't raced for. I think you've got to look at the trials form. And luckily enough, Addington have been very proactive. They've had a couple of weeks with big numbers. I mean, we had Thursday and Friday last week with, over 25 heats for the 2 days. Franklin have been good. I think we had around about 75 there last Friday. Cambridge had not a bad day on Saturday. And again, we've had workouts this week, Michael. I think if you're going forward and you're going to do the form, I suggest the form from 2 months ago is irrelevant. A few of these horses had a bit of time off. Follow the trial form. Go to HRNZ. Go through that form from Addington. I think it's been very beneficial in the next 48 hours.
Okay, there's some bigger fields with not many stars to start the day when we kick off at noon on Thursday. The late quaddie, though, is where we see some of the better horses. Now, today or the Thursday meetings are predominantly a minor meeting, getting into a bigger meeting on Friday. But there's a horse in race 6, which is the first leg of the late quaddie, called Eldorado from the Crandell Getty team. Used to be with Nigel Martin McGrath. I think, Craig, this might be a pretty decent horse for this grade of meeting. How do you see the first leg of the late quaddie?
I think he's a horse that I think he opened up at 230, Michael, and I think that's about a fair price for him. I wouldn't take much shorter than him because he's a horse in the past that has let the punters down. Of course, he is a brother to the Derby winner, Sheriff, but I'm not sure that he knows he's related to this horse because he can trial like Tarzan and race like Jane. So for me, the best version of Eldorado would win this race. He's had a trial. It was a very quiet trial. I didn't learn a lot off that trial, but I thought he did enough. I thought he was held up by Nathan. He got to line nicely. He did what you wanted to see going forward till tomorrow. The horse that I did think was way over and pushing the TAB this way, Ghost Rider opened at $9. Look at the speed maps tomorrow, Michael. I think this horse will lead. He's now with Bob Butt's got barrier 3, not a lot of gate speed inside, should cross over the 1900 and has options. I think if Eldorado comes forward, we'll probably hand to it, but it's never shown a lot of gate speed in the past. So just on an each-way basis, I quite like the $9 around Ghost Rider. I don't believe that will last. I think Eldorado, absolutely, if you want to go short, those two in the first leg. And the only other one I'd consider if you want to go a little bit wider was Cheddar Valley, because I think Robert Dunn's team have come up pretty well. It's had a trial. It's off the Unruly, I know, but it's not a big field. It's one of the smaller fields on the day, can work into the race. But for me, I think Eldorado's the best horse, but on each way value, I like Ghost Rider.
Had a chat to Crandell Getty on Wednesday night, and he thought Eldorado had 2 or 3 wins pretty quickly up his sleeve, Craig. So I know what you're saying. 2.3 is close enough to the mark for me, but I might be tempted. What does tempt me is the horse he trains in the second leg of the late quaddie. That's Chevron Action. Look, second of the Oaks, trialled up a treat last week, I thought. I was initially concerned by the standing start. Spoke to Cranny, said standing start's no concern. He thinks she'll be winning. Open 2.9 into 2.7. Big field, big trot field. Do we take cover? Do we anchor?
I think on one ticket, we've talked about this in the past, I think on one ticket will be anchoring her. I mean, she's good enough to run second in the Oaks last start. That's very good form for a race like this. This is only a rating 40 to 51. She's a filly I felt was going to be very competitive, probably into a harness, Jules, this weekend if we got there. She was going to be very, very, I think a horse capable of winning 5 races by the end of the season had we not had COVID, Michael. So I think to answer your question, I think I'd be anchoring on 1 ticket. What I would say about her is all her form's been around mobiles. She reverts to a standing start this week. And more importantly, she's from the inside of the unruly second row. Now, we know in the past, it's not a great place to be if you're a little bit claustrophobic down the inside there. So for me, I think she's the best horse there. If she steps, she'll probably win. If I had a bit of cover, Sue Princess beat her at the trials a fortnight ago in the first trials back from COVID. I thought she trialled up quite nicely, did things right. She has let the punters down in the past. And in sequence is another mare that Blair Orange takes to drive for Ken Barron. Always promised plenty, hasn't quite delivered yet. So 1 ticket, anchor the favourite, maybe cover the other 2 on another.
Yeah, she was my bit of the day. I'm gambling on the fact she'll step away from the standing start, Craig. We know it's a gamble, but I think 2.7, which is still available as we record this, is pretty fair. I found the next leg, the penultimate for the day, quite confusing, and I think we can afford to be a touch confused because the last leg I'm happy almost to anchor or close enough to anchor. But I thought race 8 wasn't easy. There were some second line chances, which could mean some mid-race moves.
Yeah, I mapped them as Woodley Diego as an uncontested leader off the gate here. It's shown great gate speed in the past. John Dunn's picked up the drive here with, we know John's an aggressive driver, barrier 2, 1980. I think at 460, it just pushes forward and finds the front. I don't see a lot of pressure coming from out wide. Maybe Mongolian Marshall, to put the pull-up blinds on him this week, Michael. He's a horse that showed enough in his last campaign for Paul Court to suggest to me that he's better than a maiden. And I just got a feeling they may go forward even from that wider draw. The 2 in the second row that you're alluding to, Southern Belle and Racanelli, both ex-deep Southerners, now transferred stables. Kirk Larson, Southern Belle to Brad Mowbray, and Racanelli from Clark Barron to Regan Todd. Both of them had a run at the trials last week. I was really impressed with Racanelli. Regan Todd, he does a good job on the beach there, and I thought this filly by Mac 3 did enough to me to suggest would be a chance, but I wouldn't take $4. I reckon that's way too short. Unruly, second row draw. If you're going to back her, leave it till late. You'll get better than $4 that you're getting now.
Okay. What numbers, Big Fish, would you take in that penultimate leg of the quaddy?
I'd be really happy with just 4 runners. I think Woodley Diego, I must because it's your leader. Mongolian Marshall, because I think it's quite a nice horse going forward. And then the 2 we've just talked about from the second row, 12 and 13. So 2, 8, 12, 13, leg 3 of the quaddy.
You mentioned at the start of this, this new whale watch, or Big Fish, Little Fish, as we're going to call it. You mentioned the trials form's really important, but there's no trials form in the last on the card about Skippy's Delight. He comes out of the Flying Stakes last start, so clearly he's the best horse in the race. No trials, but you know something that maybe our viewers don't know. Tell us about what Skippy's Delight's been up to.
You had a good talk to Brendan Hill this afternoon, Michael, just about him, because I was a little bit concerned that he hasn't trialled and he hasn't raced for 2.5 months. You go on the Flying Stakes form, you won't copy that. That's great form going into the race like this. And more importantly, prior to that, he was good enough to run 3rd behind Hero Square, fresh up for the season. So on that form, he was good enough to win here. My concern was 2 months off, no trials. Is he ready from barrier 8 to go forward? Brendan Hill said, listen, he's taken him to Ashburton the last 2 weeks to have a couple of private workouts with 4 runners. Both times he's hit the line really well in good sectionals. He's pretty much screwed down for tomorrow. And more importantly, we know he's got good gate speed. With Matthew Williamson reunited on him tomorrow, I can see them going forward from out wide. I think if he finds the front, there's been a scratching here in Virginia Cool, who was probably the only one off the front that was likely to test him off the gate. I think he's really set to go forward and lead this race. And if he finds the front, I think, Michael, like you said, possibly an anchor in the last leg of the quaddy.
Yeah, I thought the only danger was maybe Stickman. He's not a bad type of a horse. He hasn't trialled either, though, but I think there's a little bit of physical superiority about those 2 versus the rest. Craig, for people who are watching this, and we're all happy to be back at work, what's your one bet for the day? If you were having one bet, and then I'll also ask you how we get deeper into the form, because obviously there's not going to be as much form around on television and in newspapers as there was pre-COVID. So what's the one bet you would have at Addington's Thursday afternoon meeting?
Well, I've backed Ghost Rider at the $9 when it opened at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Michael. Just on an each-way base, I think Eldorado is the better horse. But just at the value at the 9 and 250, I thought, take that an each way. I think in the last, Skippy's Delight, look, for me, is the best of the day. I think the best version of him, if he found the front, should take out the last. I agree with you on Stickman, maybe Longview Lady. Remember, she raced in some very good 3-year-old company races up here, Premier Nights at Alexandra Park, when transferred from Ken Barron to Brett Mangos over that Christmas period. She showed enough to me, Michael, that from that draw barrier forward, Blair Orange aboard, she would be an outside chance in the last.
Mate, we appreciate you here at Harness Racing New Zealand coming on to do this show with us for no payment. We know you love tipping a winner, you love being involved. Your website's going to be up and running, and your own 100 number is going to be coming back. So for people who have been following you over the last decade and they want the Wales tips, how do they get your information? Where do they go to find it out?
Yeah, mate, I'm actually just building a new website at the moment. Hopefully it'll be finished by Friday afternoon, Saturday morning at the very latest. It's www.walesharness.co.nz. The old version.
So walesharness.co.nz?
Yeah, the old version's still there, Michael, but it'll be, as I said, revamped, and the new version should turn up by Friday afternoon. We're going to cover trials, reviews from the weekend's harness racing, south and north. Podcasts, there's going to be videos there. It should be pretty good, Michael. And as you say, it's something to look forward to in the next 3 or 4 weeks when harness racing really gets centre stage. We've got no gallops at the moment. The dogs are there at the moment, but harness racing's really got its chance to stand up. And I think this is a good way of certainly pushing the course.
The 0900 number used to be a big thing on the front of the best bets back in the day. Is that gone now? Have you moved totally online?
No, mate, it's still there because I think it's a backup. I mean, my subscription service is a monthly service, and those people that maybe just want to bet once a week, maybe quite happy just to bet on a Friday. So I've kept the 0900 number going. It's a stock standard 0900 999. It's probably quite cheap just for a meeting for a one day. But if you're looking to go for a month, it's certainly the way to go. The podcast, you're getting exactly the same information for a lot cheaper.
Mate, it's great to have racing back. Great to have you back, my good, large aquatic friend. We'll join you on Friday as we look forward to Friday's meeting at Addington, Invercargill, and, of course, Cambridge, something a bit closer to home. But, mate, punt well. Good to have you back here on hrnz.co.nz.